Absolutely. We want to obviously stop the rot. We want to stop the corruption. All it takes for residents to do is drive down their street and see the failings of the city of Johannesburg at the moment. It is really just imploding and falling apart.
The most stable mayor we've had is Herman Mashaba, who served for 3 years, and before that, Park Stow had a big 5-year term there. Is the stability of leadership within Johannesburg not the main issue here, and that if we continue to just have these motions of no confidence and changes of mayors, that it actually takes away from any kind of possible change because we're changing leadership so often?
We didn't just get to this point one day and decide we're going to put in a motion of no confidence. We have written to the Speaker, we have written to the Executive, we have written to COCTA, we have pleaded with the MD of City Power, Joburg, to no avail. We've had meetings. We have tried to...
You say that you've tried other ways to try and get this done, but we're sitting now at the situation where we're going to have what is, if indeed you are successful in this regard, just over the last 5 years, that would give us 8 new mayors.
If somebody doesn't want to talk to you, I'm not sure how you address that.
Nicole, how much of this has to do with the possibility of Helen Zille running for this position?
Guys, so I remember in January when I made this video about Johannesburg, when I was actually arguing that, 2025 would be one of Africa's proudest years because Africa will be hosting the G20 summit, that should actually take place in December going forward. And the choice city, the city of gold, Johannesburg, was chosen to be that city that would host these G20 members, all right? And so I was really sort of like really excited until I stumbled on a video where I saw the city, Johannesburg, today. And also this Nicole van Dijk, who's a Democratic Alliance rep, arguing that Johannesburg was decaying. I actually had to make my own investigation and stumbled on a video where I made a video about Johannesburg. And bro, I just couldn't believe the state in which Johannesburg was in the moment. And the fact that it's going to be, it was chosen to host this year's G20 summit, it was a struggle for me. And so this actually makes me really, you kind of like see as form of significance in probably a new kind of leadership. Now, especially we're seeing Helen Zille almost kind of like being within that mix. She actually, in my last video, argued that she's time to put her boxing gloves and get into the boxing ring, all right? So I just wanted us to watch this video and really see what I was actually trying to identify in the Johannesburg I was seeing, and the Johannesburg I was actually also anticipating that would be hosting the 2025 summit, where the likes of Donald Trump, as we're seeing the bastion and the leadership of the US, would be actually being hosted. I just couldn't believe it. Let's take a quick listen.
Slowly, many things seem to be really looking a little bit worrisome. I know that many African cities are actually going through this kind of decay as well. But for me, it appears that the speed at which Johannesburg in itself actually is experiencing this decay is actually, too fast in my from when I actually started getting to know Johannesburg in the pictures and in the videos. I struggle to really believe that this was really Johannesburg, you see. And if this is the city that will be hosting all of these major leaders of the world this year, I really don't know how. I really wonder the kind of speed that the GNU would have to allocate funds and finances in place to fix up this whole city and get it suitable enough to be able to host these representatives of the G20 countries, except probably they could fix one particular area of the city and make sure that the people who visit the city do not go out to the other areas. But at the end of the day, I wonder if that's such a sustainable move, and if that really speaks to the truth of the country in itself, or Africa as it were, as we really hope to really make really powerful negotiations that impact on the welfare and well-being of our nation. So this is actually like a wake-up call for probably the ANC, the GNU, and the whole problems with collection of taxes, lack of employment, and all of that. it's a wake-up call that things have to be done to put things in order so that, you know, even cities in themselves can actually function properly, and with the wider African continent as well, so that we can actually see, don't get to the point where we have to wait to the dying minute, as we say in my country, before we put things in place to make everywhere look so cosmetic. Meanwhile, the truth is the fact that our cities are decaying.
Yes, so right now we've seen how Johannesburg actually, I really don't know if maybe some things are actually being done now at the moment, you know, some work is being going on. But in this interview with this DA rep here, you know, her name is actually, she's a DA Chief Whip in Johannesburg, Nicole Ran. She's actually highlighting some really important points, which I think it's really important that we all listen to the end regarding the leadership in Johannesburg, because it appears that the DA and Al Jama have come together to put forward a vote of no confidence against three people. I think I see that, you know, it's against, one of them is actually against the mayor, Dada Morero, who I've actually just begun studying his, you know, profile and trying to really understand his kind of leadership in this city and how it is that everyone is just complaining about Johannesburg is breaking under his leadership. Although I know this is actually just isn't under his own regime, but, you know, there have been many leaders that have actually accumulated, you know, series of what many would call breakages. But, you know, for Morero to actually now have to go through this vote of no confidence, I think it's a really significant one. It says that the programming committee approved the motion of no confidence in the mayor and also the speaker, Nobule Mtembu, right? And also, I think Al Jama actually moved the motion of no confidence for this speaker, Nobule Mtembu, while the DA pushed the motion of no confidence against, you know, the mayor and the chief whip. I think the chief whip's name is Sitembiso Zungu, all right? So this is actually causing a really lot of rift, as you could hear from this conversation between Ran, the DA rep here, Nicole Ran, and this journalist, arguing on the fact that, you know, it seems that Johannesburg, the leadership in Johannesburg has actually gone through a lot of votes of no confidence and too many changes. He actually argues that I think in 5 years, the city of Johannesburg has had 8 mayors. And this kind of frequent changes kind of like doesn't promote certain, this is from the perspective of the journalist now, this kind of frequent changes doesn't promote, you know, sustainable change for the city. And in a way, you could actually hear him trying to really argue if this motion of no confidence from the DA is actually in the spate of the entrance or the anticipated entrance of Helen Zille in the mayorship of that city. And, you know, if Helen Zille mistakenly, I don't know if it would say mistakenly, but if she steps into the mayorship of Johannesburg, bro, I think that's going to be history. I really personally think that's going to be history because, you know, I just can't imagine the, you know, the kind of personality she is that on this channel, borrowing from Nell De Beer, she's been called the Iron Lady. I just can't imagine a leadership of Helen Zille, an Iron Lady in the leadership space there of Johannesburg, and probably what could be achieved within her time of leadership. I really anticipate that kind of leadership, but I know there will be a lot of challenges and fights and arguments, and it's going to be brutal. But anyway, this is the reality we might be likely facing, and Nicole Ran is actually pinpointing and exposing certain things we really do not yet know about this motion of no confidence and the vote and how it's going down. I think it's really interesting to really understand her understanding and her articulation on why the DA thinks a vote of no confidence is necessary, to the point where Al Jama had to also join in. It's really something really interesting for me to really understand, and hopefully I don't know how it would be anyway, but I think they're passing this motion of no confidence, I think by next week, and we'll see how it runs. But I think it's going to be really shaking. It's going to shake the city of Johannesburg, the leadership of the city of Johannesburg, really. And I'm really personally, I'm passionate about African cities. All right, I'm really passionate because you see, the cities where, you know, in Africa, when we speak about investment in Africa, it usually happens in some cities, and there are some really important cities: Lagos, Addis Ababa, Nairobi. We have Cape Town, and Johannesburg has actually been along that been on those lines of really important cities for investment. But with the crumbling I'm seeing right now, I really feel worried, and I really hope that a kind of like a more improved leadership would actually emerge to actually turn back what we are seeing now, with many people have called a city that is in decay back to the city of gold. Let's quickly listen to Nicole Ran explain some of the rudiments and the details behind this ongoing vote of no confidence that might be coming next week, and probably if this might actually be the series of events that would usher in a Helen Zille as mayor of Johannesburg. Share your thoughts in the comments.
City of Johannesburg's Council Program Committee has set the date for next week to hear motions of no confidence against Mayor Dada Morero, Speaker Nobuhle Mthembu, as well as Chief Whip Sthembiso Zungu. Two of the motions were brought forward by the Democratic Alliance in the city, that being of the mayor and the Chief Whip. The third against Zungu by Al-Jamaz Tapelo Ahmad. Let's discuss these developments then with the Democratic Alliance's Chief Whip in Johannesburg Council. That's Nicole Ran. Nicole, thank you so much for the time. One must hasten to add, however, that we have asked Action SA, for example, to be a part of the conversation. They haven't put forward anybody as yet. We are also asking any of the members of the council, of course, to put forward any names that we could speak to get more clarity on this and a more holistic picture. For now, though, the DS, Nicole Ran, does join us. Nicole, thank you so much for the time. Let's get a clear sense. And yours, of course, is a motion of no confidence against the mayor himself, Dada Morero, as well then as the chief whip then as well. Give a clear sense of why that is the case.
Thank you very much, and morning. As the Democratic Alliance believe in holding the executive to account, all it takes for residents to do is drive down their streets and see the failings of the city of Johannesburg at the moment. It is really just imploding and falling apart. The executive mayor has done very little to address or arrest the failings of the entities and the lack of service delivery currently in the city of Joburg. We have got outages of water and power that go on for days, if not weeks on end at sometimes, and there's really no accountability and no holding people to account on providing services for the residents of Joburg. The mayor is clearly an ANC mayor. He comes from the ANC, but his role should be to ensure that he runs the city in an anti-partisan way, which is currently not happening. He is dancing to the tune of the coalition partners, which are the EFF, PA, Action SA, and literally just bulldozing their way through council at the moment with no regard for the residents of the city of Johannesburg. The finances are in a dire strait, a dire area. We are seeing loans after loans after loans happening. We understand that obviously loans are a requirement for budgets, but at the moment the fear that we're having is that we are managing the city via loans instead of and to pay salaries and basic things like that versus actually using loans for capital expenditure. So our faith in the mayor is that he will do nothing more than he has currently done, and we will continue to plunge into the dark hole that we're in, and with no plan to get us out of this. The irony is that I suppose when you have to bring in your own bomb squad against your executive and your mayor, is that not a motion of no confidence against yourself? Regarding the speaker, we were hoping, in her opening speech, she said that she would hold the executive to account and ensure that the management of the city of Joburg would be run cleanly and fairly. She has not done that. There's been a complete capture. She's been captured by the executive, and she runs to the tune of what they demand. We've had over 40 extraordinary council sittings in a term that's now 4 years old. I think that's actually more than the number of scheduled council sittings that we've had. So that's a complete waste and completely unacceptable. Yep. The executive is not planning their lives correctly
Sure.
to run the city. So everything's knee-jerk, last-minute, push through. And, you know, for the opposition, whether we complain or not, it falls on deaf ears. The same applies to the speaker, to the chief whip. He has very little regard for any of the other parties. So ACDP, Freedom Front Plus, ourselves, we can voice our opposition and unhappiness about certain things, but he will call last-minute meetings on a long weekend to try and push through a loan that they obviously knew was coming, but needed to plan. So
Nicole,
it really is. It's pushing things through the back door.
The ANC-led governing coalition currently has more numbers in the council. How confident are you of this vote going through?
Well, you know, a day in politics is a long time, but we were approached by a whole lot of different parties from very surprising corners. They did ask for anonymity, so we'll respect that. And let's see where they stick to their conscience, as they should. We'll get the votes through, but we'll have to see on the day.
You said a lot of this is anti-partisan as well, in the way that particularly the mayor, Tata Morero, is dealing with things as well. I wanted to ask if you could please expand on that just a little bit. When anybody does some things that are anti-partisan, it means that it only services one half then of the maybe constituents and even those members within the council itself. Is that exactly what is happening here? You feel that it only represents one side and not the other?
100%. We do not have a council that is currently objective, being fair to all the residents of Johannesburg, or it's literally serving a certain segment, and it drives an agenda for what they want to drive. Where we sit at the moment is that we have obviously the coalition of the EFF, ANC, PA, Action SA. They will particularly drive, where their MMCs are in power, they will drive an agenda that applies to the electoral or the residents that they want to serve. And that is completely disregarded for the rest of Johannesburg.
Is that not just another way? And allow me to play devil's advocate here. Some would say that actually just all that's happening is that you're perhaps not happy with the decisions ultimately being made here, and therefore you feel that it is bipartisan, as opposed to it actually being a decision that may be best for the city. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that that could be the motion put forward by the other side here.
Okay. So our belief is that democracy put our council in place, and there's a split within the votes, and we respect that. We understand that we are the smaller, we are the opposition, so we're not in government. However, when we were in government, we did look at the whole city. You've got to be able to serve the residents. You are a public servant. That is the point of why we are here to serve. It's not for our own self-interests. We are here to make sure that the local government functions, and the main role of local government to function is to provide services for the residents of Joburg, which allows for businesses to grow or investment to happen. But who would invest in a city where you can't keep the water in your taps and you can't keep the lights on? And when I say that, I'm not saying for a couple of hours. I've got councillors that are fighting outages that go over 18 days. So those kind of things, your role as government to start with is to provide the platform for service delivery and service delivery to the residents. So politics, I get, is obviously a bit of a messy business, but we sit in a scenario in Joburg that is very different. Yeah. City Power, Joburg Water, all have separate boards. They have MDs. They are separate companies that run. It would be like me being held accountable for the supply of Coca-Cola at an engine. But the executive has the power to actually make changes there, and they're doing nothing about it. They're not holding the boards accountable. They're not holding the MDs accountable. They are just failing in their duties.
Nicole, is
to
there
make
no
sure
other
that-
way to do this? And I only ask because the stability of Joburg is also a key factor as to why it could be going down as it is in terms of administration, budgets, etc. Let me give you a breakdown here. Tata Moreo is serving obviously currently since August last year as mayor. Kabelo Kwamanda was mayor then between 2023 and 2024. Then you had Tata Moreo, who briefly served before then. Shabalala Msimang also briefly served. Mpho Phalatse also briefly serving in about a one and a half year term. Joel Di Matongo also briefly serving after, of course, we had the passing of Jeff Makubo, who served for around 3 years or so then. And before that, the most stable mayor we've had is Herman Mashaba, who served for 3 years. And before that, Park Stow had a big 5-year term there. Is the stability of leadership within Johannesburg not the main issue here, and that if we continue to just have these motions of no confidence and changes of mayors, that it actually takes away from any kind of possible change because we're changing leadership so often?
Okay, so that's a very good question. The first point I want to make on this is that this is not, we didn't just get to this point one day and decide we're going to put in a motion of no confidence. We have written to the Speaker, we have written to the Executive, we have written to COCTA, we have pleaded with the MD of City Power, Joburg Water, and I'm just picking on those two as an example, to no avail. We've had meetings, we have tried to assist, we have given solutions to problems to say, we can't keep going down this road. We have got to find a plan to actually arrest the failures of the entities where we are. We put through a plan last year regarding Joburg Water. Everything, all of these things have been fallen on deaf ears and just been ignored. So if we get a response, it's an acknowledgement, and then it goes into a hole. So we have tried other avenues. We have tried questions in council. As I say, we've written. We really have kind of exhausted avenues to get ourselves to this point. So I agree with you. A revolving door of mayors is not a long-term solution. But while we still sit with a fragmented council the way that we do currently, I mean, we have over 80, I think we've got 17 or 18 parties in the city of Joburg, with no clear majority outrights, this is going to continue to happen. Because majority of people, colleagues on the other side, are looking for positions of power. They are, so he who can get the best deal, they'll take. So until we've got the numbers to be able to stabilize this, unfortunately, there's not much more we can do except try each angle as the Democratic Alliance to try and keep the city on track and prevent illegal decisions being made and unlawful decisions being made in council.
You say try each angle, and I'm fully aware that you say that you've tried other ways to try and get this done, but we're sitting now at the situation where we're going to have what is, if indeed you are successful in this regard, just over the last 5 years, that would give us 8 new mayors. That obviously doesn't bode well, and you've just said a revolving door is not helpful here. Is it not possible to work within the system itself and perhaps not just a motion of no confidence, but a motion in which would force the mayor to act in particular ways for particular motions that you've made note of, whether it be Johannesburg Water, whether it be the City Power as well? Is there no way to enforce a little bit more stricter laws in that regard? Because then you're getting action set forward. You're pushing for the agenda to get things done, as opposed to just changing leadership, which sometimes changes strategy.
So there's no real legislation that allows us to do that. We have followed the channels that we can. We have also engaged. So, I mean, I'll give you the budget as an example. My colleague, Councillor Chris Santana, who's our head of Finance Committee, tried to engage on numerous occasions with the MMC of Finance and the Mayor. Excuse me. And there was really just no interest in engaging. So if somebody doesn't want to talk to you, I'm not sure how you address that. We have tried. It's not that we haven't tried. It's not that we're being arrogant and just arriving here at this last minute. We've tried to engage, we have tried to have conversations, we have tried to say, look, we've got to do something. We've tried our routes. Unfortunately, we are out of channels at this point, and this is the only channel. Under the current leadership, it would appear that we will get absolutely radio silence from the mayor, and he's not interested in engaging across the chambers.
Nicole, how much of this has to do with the possibility of Helen Zille running for this position?
I can't speak on that. Our party has a very rigorous, I went through it last year for the MP-MPL procedure, very, very rigorous interview processes. There's different steps that need to be to go through. My understanding from what I hear is that the applications are closed, and they now will go through the steps of applications within the candidates. How many there are, I think somebody said there were around about 12, and all applicants
is Helen Zille one of them?
I can't confirm or deny. The corridor talk says yes, but obviously we'd have to wait to see. It is a generally quite a confidential process, as is the councillor application process.
Even within the party? Is that not a little bit stark within the party? Because those are the same people who need to get votes within the party to then lead the party as well in council.
So there are panels that are set up within our party. Those people would obviously know. So there's the three-step panel process, if I can call it that. First step is the screening committee, and that screening committee would obviously know who the applicants are. Then there would be the electoral college. The electoral college panel would know who the applicants are. And then there's a final step, which is the selection panel, and they would know who the applicants are. The rest of it is kept confidential. I am out of the loop on this because I have applied for council for 2026. And therefore I have a conflict. So because I'm an applicant within.
So okay, so that confirms that you are an applicant within this to try and be mayor then in 2026.
Oh no! Sorry.
In 2026,
no.
I mean, not right now. 2026.
I haven't applied for mayor. I have not applied for mayor. I've applied to be a councillor again.
Okay, all right. No, that helps understand that just a little bit clearly. Just as a final question, then, of course, you could imagine that everybody would look at this and think that it is because you would like your own leadership to be in charge then of the Johannesburg Council here. So does that infer then on this part that you would be looking to speak to other parties which may indeed try to break up the leadership then within the council itself in order to have somebody within your own ranks lead Johannesburg?
Sorry, just repeat the question. I'm not following you.
Would you be then talking to other parties within the province, within the city, in order to break up the current leadership, as you're doing with regards to the, of course, this motion of no confidence, to try and install your own kind of leadership or your own leader with regards to the leadership then of the city?
There's no talk at this point in time of the DA wanting to take over the city of Joburg at the moment. We're doing I'm probably biased, but I think we're doing a very good job in the opposition benches of holding people to account and trying to uncover things. So there's no talk that I'm aware of us taking over power before the next election. It's business as usual. We will continue to be the best opposition we can in Joburg. That was the hand we were dealt. And we will continue to do oversight and hold the executive to account, which is our job.
So that doesn't mean there's no desire to lead, though, right? It's just that there isn't any put forward right now.
As we stand at the moment, we have 70 councillors out of 270. So it's not we don't have the numbers at this point. So there's there is a desire to take over the city of Joburg. Absolutely. We want to obviously stop the rot. We want to stop the corruption. We want to get services back to residents. There's a desire to fix all of those things. The potholes, the road markings, get the
All right.
streets cleaned, water, power. But at the moment, we just don't have the numbers. So it's not a
Nicole?
practical.
Thank you.